What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. We have a little bit of a different video today, where we're going to be talking. I think I want to do these like patch review videos, basically, where whenever we have a pretty good patch coming on, I just want to go over all of the new stuff that is coming out, because I know before I was making content, I would just wait for videos like this to pop up and watch them instead of going in and looking for this content, right? So I think that that's one of the things that I want to start doing. And so today we're going to do that with this new patch for 6.2 that's going to be coming out tomorrow. We have an insane amount of new things coming out, a lot of awesome, fun stuff happening. And let's just dive right in. So obviously we are on Halloween coming up here in just a few days. And so we have this Halloween fusion, Morrigan. You've probably already heard about her, but in case you haven't, just a real quick rundown. A1 decreased speed, 70% chance to land, pretty decent, not great, but not too bad. Her A2, Shriek of the Banshee, has 100% chance of stealing all buffs from a single target, and also places a true fear, and if it's a boss, it'll place a decreased accuracy. Pretty nice skill. It's not amazing, but it's not terrible either. The buff strip is quite nice. Velocimancy is the A3. This is, I think, really the bread and butter of her ability and what she's going to be mainly used for. She's 100% chance of decreasing the turn meter of all allies by 20%, and also increases the turn meter of all allies by 20%. So you're having a 40% disparity of turn meter there. She will also place the increased speed buff on all of your allies for 2 turns as well, which is really awesome. And it's on a 4-turn cooldown, so it's actually pretty reliable too. And then we have the Path, She Who Is Death. At the start of each turn, she'll place a 100% heal reduction debuff for 2 turns on the enemy with the lowest HP. It's actually pretty good. She also has just the basic speed aura. I think she's going to be very good in places like Faction War. I've heard a lot of people say she's going to be very good for Dark Fae, which is kind of all about turn meter control and things like that. I think there's also a potential viability where she's good in some other content that just needs a lot of speed. So Fire Knight, maybe, because of the speed buff. Only having single target hits is not the greatest, and having a hits that don't even do anything, so probably not. But the heal reduction and the turn meter, she could be a fifth for some people. So definitely, I think a decent fusion, nothing crazy. She's not a game changer, but definitely worth grabbing if you have the ability to. Then we have Allele coming into the game, which is a Sylvan Watcher, and you're probably like, Sylvan Watchers, what are those? Well, this new patch brings a whole new faction of champions called the Sylvan Watchers, which I think is awesome. Some of the designs of these champions are amazing. I really wish I had access to the test server so that I could just show you what they look like in game, because it's just so good, but crazy. So we've got this legendary attack void champion from the Sylvan Watchers, Allele. Basic skill here: attacks one enemy, steals all buffs from the target the first time this champion hits them with this skill. Each subsequent time this attack hits an enemy, no buffs will be stolen. Instead, the damage will be increased by 10% for each buff on the target. So kind of an interesting basic. It actually pairs really well with the passive, which we'll go over here shortly, which is pretty nice. Attacks one enemy, will ignore strengthen, stone skin, increased defense, and ally protection buffs. And if this attack kills an enemy, fully heals this champion and places stone skin buff on them for 1 turn. This is kind of insane. I definitely need to see the damage numbers to see if he's a good single target nuker here with this ability. Because if not, then it may not be great, but it could be very good just because it ignores all these buffs. I mean, it seems like it's going to be probably better than, for example, like even a Rotos, because Rotos can't ignore all of these buffs. And so, you're looking at a pretty decent chunk of damage that's going to be coming out, which is very nice. Then we have this A3, attacks all enemies before attacking, removes any increased defense buffs on each target, and replaces them with a decreased defense buff. Also removes any strengthen and replaces them with a weaken. Guys, this is going to be probably a very strong nuker champion that's coming to the game for sure. I'm super excited to see someone pull him. Obviously, he's a legendary void, so it's probably going to be a while before we actually see one, but still a phenomenal champion just with that alone. Then increase this champion's HP by 2,000 and defense by 100 for every 1,000 attack they have. Now this is pretty minor, right? I mean, it's nothing crazy, you know, 2,000 HP for every 1,000 attack. If you're looking at like end game gear, you're looking at maybe 6k attack. So you're getting an extra 12k HP and an extra 600 defense. You know, that's pretty good, but really, if you're using him for a nuker, odds are you're not going to get hit, right? So we'll see how that works. I really like the second part of the passive, though, which is fills this champion's turn meter by 10% whenever they receive a buff. If you're playing with a speed boosting type team, you know, you're running something, you know, like a Seeker or an Arbiter, you're going to grant that buff and the speed. So basically this guy's just going to go real fast, which I think makes this a little more difficult even to speed tune him properly, because you know, when you do that speed turn boost with, like, say, an Arbiter, she also, if I remember correctly, let's double check this, she also grants attack buff. Yeah, she also grants this attack buff. And so because of that, that may mess up your turn order if you don't have, you know, a different decreased defense that's going beforehand. But luckily, he does have that decreased defense on his AoE here. So more likely than not, he's going to be fine. He kind of deals the, you know, has the role of both decreased defense and nuking. So very nice. Then we've got Elva Autumnborn, a magic legendary support. Basic attack, attacks an enemy, places a 15% continuous heal buff. Pretty nice. 75% chance of removing all debuffs from all allies. Goes up to 100%. That's nice. Places a block debuff and an increased speed. I like this. This sounds very good for Hydra, for example, and some other content as well, but definitely really nice. And has a revive, so this is awesome. So for faction wars, which we won't have this faction war right away, we're gonna have some time. They're probably gonna release some more champions beforehand, but having a reviver right off the bat is very good. Unfortunately, it is a legendary, which does feel kind of bad, you know, because if you don't pull the legendary, you don't have the reviver. But very, very good start for sure. Also places a 60% decrease or increased defense and increased attack on the ally for 2 turns. Kind of cool. The increased defense, I think, is the good part. Attack buff is, I guess, not bad if you're resing a attack nuke, you know, a nuker or something like that. But then we have the passive here: heals each ally by 10% of their max HP at the start of their turn. That's nice. Places a perfect veil buff for 1 turn on the ally with the lowest HP. That's nice as well. And then we have this basic speed aura as well, which is awesome. Then we go into Green Warden Ruark. Attacks one enemy, transfers all debuffs from this champion to the target. Heals the champion by 5% of their max HP for each debuff transferred. I'm seeing a buff/debuff kind of thing going on with Sylvan Watchers for sure. Attacks all enemies, places a decreased attack, and steals continuous heal buffs from each enemy. Okay, that seems very niche, but the decreased attack is nice. Places a taunt buff, which this is the new buff that we're getting. It's like provoke, but it's a buff instead of a debuff. So very nice there. And a 60% increased defense and 25% strengthen on this champion for 2 turns. So he's more of a just pure tank kind of champion. He puts decreased attack on the enemies. He puts increased defense and strengthen on himself, which is nice. Whenever an ally loses 10% or more of their HP from a single hit, places a shield buff on that ally for 2 turns equal to 10% of their max HP. That is really nice too. Could be a viable option for Scarab King, which I know we have a lot of those, but if you don't have those other options and you happen to pull him, he's viable there. And then a 30% ally defense, which is awesome. Then we have King Galkabar. Attacks one enemy, places a shield buff for 2 turns. The ally with the lowest HP. The value of the shield is equal to 15% of the ally's max HP. That's pretty nice. AoE poison here and removes all buffs, which is nice. Oh, it actually swaps the buffs for poisons. That's really nice. And has a chance of placing that block buffs as well, which is very good. Removes all debuff from all allies. Places a continuous heal buff. That's nice. Places a shield buff. We like that. Very, very survivable. Whenever an enemy under a poison debuff attacks an ally under a shield buff, instantly activates 1 poison. That's very specific. But because he does provide shields on the basic and the A3, probably pretty consistent, I would think. I feel like that's probably pretty consistent for sure. Then we go into Michinaki, which this is actually one of the champions that we're having a 10 times for during the 2 times Sacred. So this is probably the champion you're going to have the best odds of getting from Sylvan Watchers right at the start, because we do have that 10 times for him, which is quite nice. So attacks one enemy, 50% chance of placing an HP burn. We love that. Attacks all enemies, has a chance of placing a decreased defense and a decreased attack if they're under Hex. And attack all enemies, removes all buffs, and places a Hex. That's nice. So we have a pretty consistent defense down and attack down because he places Hex, which is very good. Whenever an ally attacks an enemy under a Hex debuff, this champion has a 50% chance to team up with and join the ally's attack. That sounds very fun, because we also have the HP burn. Could be very good in like Hydra content, for example. You place Hex on that first turn. And then every time your allies go, you know, he's going to have a chance to follow up and deal extra damage and place that HP burn. Could theoretically become like an AoE HP burn, you know, over time, which is very nice. Let me move into the epics. We've got Cormac, the High Peak. Attacks an enemy, a chance of placing a decreased speed. That's pretty good. Attacks an enemy before attacking, has a chance of placing a decreased defense. That's nice. It's a single target, so not great, but not bad. It places an increased accuracy buff and an increased crit rate buff and grants an extra turn. That's pretty nice. So single target damage dealer. Okay. I mean, not terrible. Not terrible. We'll see what the multipliers are to see how hard he hits, but probably not the greatest champion, but pretty good. Dwayden the Runic has a chance of removing random debuffs from all allies. We like that. On a basic too, which is crazy. Attacks all enemies, places a shield, increases the duration of all buffs. So this is a very, very powerful ability in the game. We've seen a lot of characters have a lot of success that have this type of buff, or this type of skill. So definitely could see some play with Dwayden the Runic for sure. Places a taunt buff on this champion for 1 turn. Also places a strengthen and counterattack buff on this champion for 2 turns. That's pretty nice. And it's a 3-turn cooldown, so up pretty reliably. And then ally defense. Awesome. Lady Annabelle attacks one enemy 2 times. Each hit heals his champion for their max by 3% of their max HP. Okay. Attacks all enemies. Places a leech. 75% chance of placing a decreased speed on any target that has less than 50% turn meter. So that's really nice. Swaps HP with a target ally. If this champion's HP is equal to or higher than the target's after the swap, places a revive on death buff on the target ally for 2 turns. If this champion's HP is lower than the target's after the swap, places a revive. Interesting, interesting. So this could be a semi-reviver for the faction wars once we do... or this is actually a Banner Lord. I'm sorry. This is a Banner Lord, so this is a new type of Reser for Banner Lords, which is kind of cool. If you have Ursala, it's not as good, but definitely still potentially good. Having the decreased speed and the leech on an AoE is quite nice. And we have increased speed on all allies too, so that's actually pretty good. I like that. Heals this champion by 50% of their max HP whenever an ally or an enemy dies. Wow, I feel like she's never going to die. I feel like she just lives forever. That's interesting. I like this champion. I wanna get this champion just so I can play with her and see what she can do for sure. Mistrider Daithi, he's a Sylvan Watcher. Attacks one enemy, has a 50% chance of removing a random buff from the target. Nice. 10% chance of granting this champion an extra turn. Probably not going to happen very often, but still cool. Attacks all enemies, 75% chance of placing decreased defense. Grants an extra turn if defense is already is placed on all enemies by this skill. Huh. So you just basically, unless you get 3%ed, if you have decent accuracy, you just get a second turn. Huh. That's very interesting. I like this. I like this. Because you also have this, which is an increased attack buff. An accuracy buff on this champion for 3 turns, then grants an extra turn. So this is a 4-turn cooldown that becomes a 3-turn cooldown, that goes into this, which is a 4-turn cooldown, that becomes a 3-turn cooldown, making this a 2-turn cooldown, and then this goes, and you have a chance of... Okay, this guy could be very, very powerful. We'll have to see. We'll have to see what the numbers are and how much damage he can actually do, you know, or if, you know, how successful this is. But this could be kind of insane. 4 turns... basically a 3-turn. This is basically a 3-turn. And the chance here to grant an extra turn. That could be very good, especially if you throw, like, Relentless on him. Oof. Or, you know, one of the other set. I can't remember the name of the set off the top of my head, but the one that reduces cooldowns. Could be very interesting. My Celiac Priest Ornn. This is the one I was probably the most excited for, but I have heard that he's actually getting nerfed. So we're going to skip this guy. He's basically supposed to be a very good solo farmer from what I've seen, but I think he's getting nerfed. So we're going to skip him for now. Ruella attacks an enemy 3 times. Each critical hit has 80% chance of stealing fire. That's very good for Fire Knight right off the bat. Fire Knight. We love that. 3 turns, steals turn meter. Great. Attacks one enemy 3 times. Beautiful. Decrease defense, weaken, decrease speed. Fire Knight. This is a Fire Knight champion. You can't tell me otherwise. This is a Fire Knight champion. Fills the turn meter of all allies by 20% and places a increased crit rate buff on all allies. I love it. I want this champion. Very strong, for sure. Very strong for Fire Knight. We love that. White Dryad Nia attacks all enemies. Decrease speed. That's pretty nice. An AoE basic. We like that. Removes all debuffs from a target ally, then heals them. That's nice. If the target of the skill is not this champion, decrease the cooldown of all of the target's skills by 2 turns. That could be very good. That could be very good. We'll have to see, but I feel like that could be very good. Places a 50% ally protection buff on all allies except this champion. Beautiful, and a strengthen. We love that. Whenever this champion is healed, heals each ally except this champion by 20% of that heal. Wow. There is a lot of fun stuff that's going to be happening over the next couple weeks because a lot of these content creators and whales are going to be getting this champion and pairing her with some crazy things. That's going to be very nice. That's going to be very good. And then we've got Pathfinder Kate, who is the rare. Attacks one enemy, has a 50% chance of placing block buff. Okay, attacks all enemies, 30% chance of increasing the cooldown of a random skill on each target. Okay, and then places a perfect veil buff on this champion for 1 turn whenever they kill an enemy. It's nothing crazy, but it's a rare, so definitely some interesting champions that are coming. I'm very excited to see. Hopefully, we can maybe even pull some of these champions because I have 9 sacred shards. That I have been saving. You can't. There we go. Now you can see them. 9 sacred shards that I have been holding on to for a fusion. And so there's a good chance that we pull these during the 2-time sacreds, and we maybe pull one of these epics or one of these legendaries during this summon event because that could be really fun. So we will see. Definitely stay tuned for the summons because we're going to be posting that video as soon as we have the ability to record on that 2-time summon. So definitely hang out. That will probably be Friday's video. If not Friday, then definitely next Monday's video for sure. But I am super, super excited to see these new champions in action. This champion looks like a lot of fun, and some of these other ones look very fun too. I'm thinking that Lady Annabelle is a Sylvan Watcher, because all of these were Sylvan Watchers. I don't know why this is Banner Lords. That feels kind of weird. So this is probably a Sylvan Watcher, but I'm not sure. But yeah, definitely. Oh, no, Mishinaki was a Shadowkin. So never mind. She probably is a Banner Lord. I didn't realize he was a Shadowkin, but yeah, very interesting. Let's see what happens. I am looking forward to seeing these new champions in game, and I want to know what champion you are most excited for. So definitely make sure to hit the like button and the subscribe button so you can see future content by me, and leave a comment down below of what champion you're the most excited to see from this next patch because it comes out tomorrow. It's very soon. But that's going to be it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out. I really appreciate it, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.